Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth annual Climate Restoration Forum. My name is Rick Wayman, and I'm CEO of the Foundation for Climate Restoration. It's a privilege to welcome you here again to this forum where we gather leaders from around the world to talk about climate restoration, the progress that we've made over the last year, and what's coming next. We have an outstanding program for you today that is full of interesting panels and interactive workshops. Uh, these are leaders in the climate restoration space, in the carbon dioxide removal space. And as I said, they come from many different countries around the world. We're really excited that you're with us today, and we're excited to have all of our speakers joining us as well. As Erica will explain in a minute, we're also highlighting many of the young people who have taken leadership roles in climate restoration in their countries and globally. As you know, this is our fifth annual forum. And just a few months ago, F4CR turned 5 years old as an organization, as a nonprofit. And as entities grow older, they often change. So today, I want to share a big announcement about F4CR's future. We'll talk more about exactly what this entails in the closing session today, but I wanted to give you the short version now. So beginning next week, we're going to be restructuring the organization to become a nearly all volunteer force. This means, unfortunately, that our highly talented staff will no longer be with us. But it also means that volunteers are stepping up into leadership roles to guide the organization in its next phase, into its next set of successes. We have a couple of specific exciting announcements to share in this regard in today's closing session that relate to partner organizations that are going to be taking on some of our programs in order to continue their momentum and bring them to the next levels of impact and scale. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Erica Dodds, who is F4CR's Chief Operating Officer, to talk more about this opening session and what we have in store today. Over to you, Erica.
Thanks, Rick, and thank you to all of you who are joining us today. I've had the privilege of being at every forum that the Foundation for Climate Restoration has held since the first one at the United Nations headquarters in 2019. And these events have really established themselves as a just incredible rallying point for the year for the climate restoration movement. It's amazing how much has changed since that first forum when we were scrambling to find speakers who would be willing to try out this new term in their presentations and scrambling to find audience members who would be willing to get themselves to New York City for this free event at the UN headquarters. As it turned out, we were able to fill a room at the Trusteeship Council chamber, which was really fantastic. But it's amazing how year over year it's gotten easier and easier to find our audience, to find our speakers, to build this event. And it's just really grown beyond our wildest dreams. So thank you for being part of this amazing annual series. There has been a lot of progress in the climate restoration movement over the last 5 years. As I mentioned in that first forum, climate restoration is this really novel term that people hadn't heard about. And now I get so many notifications about climate restoration coming up in speeches and articles and press releases and new organizations' mission statements, and et cetera. It's just really remarkable. So congratulations to all of us who've been working on this endeavor, because it's clear that it's working. As Rick mentioned, this year we've really decided to focus in on young people, and I wanted to talk a little bit about why that is. Climate restoration is a novel concept in that it really focuses on the outcome rather than the problem, right? We want a restored, healthy climate. And the people for whom that matters the most are today's young people and future generations, because this is their future that we're speaking about. When I was relatively new to the foundation, before our first forum, I had the privilege of giving a workshop at a youth climate summit in Maryland. And one of the things that I did as part of this workshop was I had the participants take a moment, close their eyes, and imagine their future 30 years down the line. What do they do for a living? What do they do for fun? What does their neighborhood look like? And when I asked them to share, one of the young women participating said, it's just all blank. Not because I can't dream up a future for myself, but because I have no indication that I'm going to have a future in 30 years. And that just stunned me. After I had given some presentation about what climate restoration is, what it means to actually take our future into our own hands and find the pathway that will get us to a healthy place, the same young woman said, "Oh my God, I actually was able to envision what my future could look like." And that's why it matters so much to have young people engaged in this conversation. This is the difference between not having hope and having a future that they can live into. That's only part of it, though. We talk a lot about climate restoration using a bathtub analogy, right? We've been talking about turning off the faucet, turning off the emissions that we're letting into the atmosphere that are causing the climate to change. But in addition to doing that, it's clear that we also need to build the drain. We need to open the drain of the bathtub and get the excess greenhouse gases out of the tub. But it's not so simple. It's not that we just pull the drain like we would in a bathtub. The drain exists, but it exists like the size of a toothpick. We need to build a much larger drain, and that's really the challenge before us. And that doesn't just happen through, a few bright scientists in their labs coming up with new ideas, or, a movement of farmers taking on new practices. It's actually much larger than that. We need a much larger workforce of people who will help us build that drain through the nature-based solutions, through the innovation, through building the technological infrastructure, the economic infrastructure. There's so much to do. And it's the workforce of tomorrow that's going to need to do the work. So before we can even do that, though, before we can build the workforce of tomorrow, we need to actually build demand for that outcome of climate restoration. And that demand is going to come first and foremost from the people whose future will be most affected. So that's why we've decided to focus this year on the importance of youth voices in this movement. This next generation is the first generation feeling the impacts of climate change, and the last one that can stop it, and the last one that can restore our climate. So we are here with you, climate restorers of tomorrow. We're committed to your future, and I am really excited to be teaming up with all of you as we build a restored climate together. First, we're going to hear from Ashley Meeke. Ashley is a board member with the foundation, and she has been part of our team for a long time. She was present at our first Climate Restoration Forum, and she is someone who has continuously inspired not just our team, but our audience. So Ashley, over to you.
The first time I ever heard of climate restoration was at the 2019 First Annual Climate Restoration Summit with the Foundation for Climate Restoration. Now, prior to, I was made familiar only with the impending doom that our world faced. My high school classes taught me about adaptation for devastating climate disasters and, of course, mitigation for corporations that attempted to slow down the Earth's trajectory towards this impending doom. However, F4CR gave me a new perspective on our climate situation, one where we can be proactive and take actionable steps that have substantial results. I realized that this is the agenda that I want to live by. I made sure to network and stay connected with the foundation, and within a year, I was invited to serve as the Youth Ambassador board member. With this opportunity, I learned so much about different stakeholders involved in climate restoration and different moving pieces of climate action. I was so inspired and hopeful for a different future that I made changes in my own life too. Like I monitored what I consumed, what I ate, what I wasted, and I made more environmentally conscious decisions. Oh, and I also watched out for my carbon footprint. I also created the Youth Leaders for Climate Restoration program to inspire youth around the world to advocate for climate restoration too. Oftentimes, youth get shut down for being too young or too inexperienced to participate in the climate conversation. But I wanted a way for youth to get the knowledge and the experience to feel confident in advocating for our world. I also recently got a chance to serve on a governance group for COP27. I worked with a few other inspiring leaders, including Ashley Arton and Eli Mitchell Larson, to ensure that CDR Pavilion events upheld our core values of being equitable, empowering, diverse, inclusive, science driven, and educational. By keeping pavilion events aligned with these values, we were also making sure that the CDR events were efficient and reached as many people as possible. Advocating for our world and advocating for climate restoration is so important to me personally because one day soon I dream of traveling the world and I want to fully experience all of the earth's beauty and wonders and preserve it for the rest of us to share. With that being said, let's get ready for some more sessions to come. In session 2, you've heard of climate restoration, but how much do you know about it? Together, we'll go over the big picture and the nitty-gritty details so you're ready for the rest of the session. You'll leave this session feeling comfortable distinguishing climate restoration for climate action, mitigation, and CDR. You'll also be able to understand some of the key opportunities and challenges facing climate restoration. In session 3, we recognize how one person's story can be more compelling than statistics about millions of people. When we practice telling our own stories, we build our climate advocacy muscles, helping us engage new people in the climate restoration movement. So, in this workshop, you'll learn how to tell your climate story and practice it with other participants. We'll provide you with the opportunity to learn about what makes a story memorable and compelling and practice telling your own story. We'll also get you thinking about how and when you can tell your climate story in your communities to help drive action towards climate restoration.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Next, we're going to hear from Aisha Swan. Aisha completed the Youth Leaders for Climate Restoration program in March 2022. Since then, she's been advocating for climate restoration policies around the UK through her work with various NGOs and within her job as external relations assistant with a Belgian NGO called Think Young. Aisha, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha and I'm from the United Kingdom. I completed the Youth Leaders for Climate Restoration program in March 2022, and my climate restoration journey really began when I noticed some students protesting about climate action in my university. This prompted me to investigate and research more into climate change, and this is when I stumbled upon the Foundation for Climate Restoration. It was at this point everything for me changed for the better. From looking at the website, I came across the Youth Leaders for Climate Restoration program, and I immediately signed up because climate action these days focuses mainly on mitigation as well as adaptation. There is little to no information on climate restoration, and up to now, not many people realize what it actually is. Climate restoration is all about using different methods to support the basic aim of restoring the climate to its healthy CO2 levels, and that can be done through carbon removal. This can come in many forms, such as synthetic limestone, direct air capture, and tree planting. I truly believe climate restoration is the answer we're looking for, because at the moment we're not caring for the earth, and millions of innocent people are suffering as a result. I used to believe that climate change didn't really matter, and this was careless of me. Family that I have in rural parts of Punjab, India, are severely affected and impacted by climate change, as increased average temperatures are reducing yield of all major crops in Punjab. My uncle, for instance, was a farmer in India and had vast amounts of land where he grew wheat, but because of soil erosion, water scarcity, and intense heat, he no longer owns that land, nor does he farm anymore. And this has taken a toll on myself and my family, as we're directly helping him financially until he finds a new job. My uncle has been farming for over 30 years, and to see his passion slowly declining due to climate change is heartbreaking. He is constantly on the lookout for new opportunities, but is struggling to find something suitable and something he will enjoy working in, especially in the long term. And this makes me feel hopeless and afraid because what if the same happens in the United Kingdom, where farmers are going out of business and are forcefully made to sell their land? Could this potentially be the new norm? Do farmers now need to migrate to different countries or areas because of the effects of climate change? And because of these questions, I'm also afraid of what will happen to us in the future. Will we even be here? Will climate change ever be saved? These are the questions I ask myself continually, and these questions are the motivation behind my climate activism. I don't want other young people to have climate anxiety, which is why I'm using my platforms such as Uprising and Studenteer, which are student-based newsletters in the UK, to write about the different ways individuals can contribute to the climate restoration movement and action. I do this by interviewing various students and asking them about their views on climate change, whilst providing solutions to help relieve individuals of their climate anxiety. I believe that as much action as possible needs to be taken now in order to build and establish a better future for generations to come. The changes in the world that I've noticed due to climate change have me in a bit of disbelief. Parks, for instance, that I've grown up to love and visit are no longer the same. Too much rainfall that the UK is now experiencing causes flooding that is damaging habitats, disrupting wildlife, and eroding peatlands. I sometimes don't recognize how far away news headlines of a climate disaster in another country could just be around the corner from my own hometown. Thank you for listening. You'll see me again in the next sessions with the Harnessing the Power of Your Climate Story workshop next, followed by the grassroots panel discussion. Alongside this, in session 4, there will be the No Time to Lose Innovation in Climate Restoration Solutions panel and the Centering Climate Justice in Climate Restoration panel for session 5. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Aisha Swarn for that really beautiful and heartbreaking story. We look forward to hearing more from you in future sessions. Next up, we're going to be hearing from Aisha Sheikh, who is a resident of Sukur, Pakistan, and an active alumna of the Youth Leaders for Climate Restoration program. She is an award-winning human rights activist and received the Diana Award built in memory of Princess Diana of Wales. She's a law student, young leader, and global citizen, and she aims to work on the betterment of her community and the world as a whole by promoting quality education, gender equality, sustainable climate action, and well-being, peace and justice, which can be done through partnership goals of sustainable development. So here is Aisha.
Hello everyone, this is Aisha Sheikh from Pakistan. I am a human rights and climate change activist. I will take this opportunity to share my climate change story. I am sure all the audience listening to me here have their own reasons for supporting and doing work in climate action, and they must have very motivational things to say, and so do I. So I would like to tell about my climate change story and how it all started and how it is going and what I am planning for future. So I started volunteering for my community when I was as young as 11 years old, but honestly, when I started volunteering, I was less aware of the importance of climate change and climate action particularly, and I just volunteered because I wanted to do something for my community and create a positive impact. Until when in 2016 my country were hit by very deadly floods where a lot of people lost their businesses, their families, their homes. They did not have anything to eat. In short, they actually literally lost everything. That was a time I realized the importance of climate change and why working for climate change and why caring for our environment is a wise thought. And it was a time I actually had a had a cause for my volunteer work. So that was the time I started taking different courses, learning about climate change, climate action, environment. I also learned some skills which could help me to let people aware about climate change and how the climate was changing in my region, Pakistan, particularly in Sindh, where I was based. And it was quite a work of a few years, and I then um, had to lead a few movements where me and my team had plantation drives, we had beach cleaning drives, we had drives where we let aware people about saving electricity and using public transport. Then again in 2022, it was in the recent times when the floods hit Pakistan once again, particularly Sindh and Balochistan. It was again a very emotional time. I also covered my story in UNICEF South Asia. You can go, I will just put the link down there. You can read about my experiences and how me and my brother formed a team with our existing friends, and then we had to rescue people who were who were the victims of floods in Sindh. I met a lot of different people there, and it actually made me really emotional. Their stories, some of them wanted to continue their studies, and they were telling me that their studies were disturbed due to the flood. Some of them lost their families, some of them lost their homes, they had nothing to eat. Many of them had to shut down their businesses because the crops they had grown to sale had gone in the floods. That was the time I again realized that we had changed nothing, and from the time that I actually had the motivation for my cause, and even after 6 to 7 years, basically we we were standing at nowhere, and still the the situation of climate change in my country is same. But I am really hopeful that we as youth will make it happen, and little by little we would be doing some positive impact. I plan on continuing my work in my region and globally, and I am really thankful to Miss Hilda who gave me the opportunity to join the program of climate restoration, where I learned about different things that I am currently applying in my region, and also helping people understand the importance of climate action and what we should do to be we should do as young people to save our climate. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Aisha. Next, we're going to hear from Zinara Bascom. She was born and raised in the small island of Barbados, and she's currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in engineering, studying civil and environmental engineering at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago. Zinara, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I am Zanara, and I'm from the beautiful island of Barbados. I am extremely passionate about my climate and have been since I was a young adolescent. I have been in love with the ocean since I was a baby. I love and still continue to love seeing the sun glistening on the blue, clear water in Barbados. I went to a cruise when I was 8 and saw for the first time what lies beneath that beautiful, glistening water, a whole ecosystem: coral reefs, fish, and sea turtles. Over the years, I have grown to understand climate change and how it affects today's world, as well as how to mitigate these effects, such as climate restoration and even adaptive measures. Climate restoration is very important to me as it focuses on restoring our Earth and its resources and ecosystems to allow us to meet the needs of today without compromising future generations' needs. This is the main thrust towards sustainability. Small island developing states are the ones being most threatened in this climate crisis. Apart from rising in temperatures, which is impacting us tremendously, as I can't even tell you I can take a stroll down the road in the midday sun without feeling like I'm being baked in a oven. We're also experiencing rising in sea temperatures over the coming years. This impacts our natural resources such as flying fish, which we use in our national dish, as well as our sea turtle population. It saddens me to know that in the upcoming years, Barbados and other small island developing states will not be the same as they are today. Larger countries in the world can do more to implement restorative strategies, which will guide SIDS, also known as Small Island Developing States, and this will all help to combat climate change, and hence why it is extremely important for us to all work together. According to a document released by the Barbados Nationally Determined Contribution in 2021, the government of Barbados ratified the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1994 and the Kyoto Protocol in 2000. Barbados also signed and ratified the Paris Agreement on 22nd of April 2016, which was implemented on the 4th of November 2016. At the same time, the INDC of Barbados became the first nationally determined contribution. The Paris Agreement is a legally binding agreement that focuses on bringing all nations to help fight against climate change, and it also helps island developing states as it makes other countries help with SID strategies. My Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Amour Motley, has been extremely engaged in climate restoration and climate change as a whole. She has implemented so many policies surrounding climate change, the two most important ones being the Roofs to Reefs program, which focuses on civil society as well as our coastal environment, and also the We Planting project, which was launched by Ms. Mia Motley, aimed at planting 1 million trees all over Barbados. The Honorable Mia Amour Motley spoke at COP21 and gave a powerful speech highlighting the effects of climate change poses to the world. Her implementations have not gone unnoticed, as this circulated throughout the world, and Ms. Motley was deemed, according to UNEP News, as champion of the earth for policy leadership. I truly cherish my country, Barbados. It is very dear to my heart, hence why I'm so invested in climate restoration, and hence its power in utilizing this strategy to reverse our soon-to-be irreversible effects. I am truly proud to be a Barbadian, as well as growing up in a country that has grown to inspire me to be so actively involved in restoration. This has made me the youth leader I am today. Small island developing states can only do so much when compared to larger countries, but I have witnessed my country, Barbados, and their efforts to help, as we have been so involved, which brings my heart joy. Even you, as an individual, can help. The smallest effort can go a long way.
Thanks so much, Zanara. And thanks again to all of our speakers for sharing your stories and outlining the sessions that we have ahead of us today. As you've heard, we've gathered a really impressive lineup of speakers throughout the day today. In your attendee hub, you'll be able to see all of the upcoming sessions and join them directly from there. Please stay with us. Up next, I'll be back with Erica, along with Hilda Berganza, our project manager and youth program manager, and Delaney Hughes, our director of solutions, equity, and stewardship, to talk about what is climate restoration. And this is not just for people who have never heard of climate restoration before. There's going to be something for everyone, from the beginners to people who have been with us from the beginning. So join us in just a minute. I look forward to seeing you there.